What's going on, guys? Jake. We're back in for another YouTube video. Today we have some more parts for the car. If you guys watched the last video, we went ahead and installed the engine, so that was a big milestone for the build. But today we're going to be installing some Torque Solutions parts, and I'm not sponsored by Torque Solutions. They just make pretty good products and I like them, so we're going to use those. But before we get into that, I just wanted to let you guys know that the next couple videos might not be all about cars, because like I've shown in previous videos, I do have a lot of other interests besides just this car. So the next couple videos, one of them might be my triathlon that's coming up, and maybe might throw in a lifting video. So anybody who's just here for the car stuff, you don't have to unsubscribe. Just go ahead and click past that video, and we'll be back with more car content soon. But without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at these parts. So here we have a oil feed kit. Now I want to mention that this is actually a rotated turbo oil feed kit, so it's a little bit different than your standard oil feed kit that you could get at a stock location, but that's exactly what we need because we are going rotated, as you guys have seen if you've been up with the channel. So that's that. We also have these subframe lockdown bolts for the rear. This will add some rigidity to the rear end of the car, make it a bit stiffer, so that'll always be a good thing. But let's go ahead and see what it takes to get this oil feed kit on the car, because hopefully soon we'll be able to go ahead and test fit the turbo and do all that cool stuff in future videos. So we're gonna need this thing to see where everything lands. So let's go ahead and put this thing on. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys where this connects to the engine and how it actually connects. So we have some brand new banjo bolts. The kit actually doesn't come with new banjo bolts. If you have your old ones, you can use them. But what I will mention is the one that's on the rear of the head does have a filter in it, and you're definitely gonna wanna remove that. So anyway, I had to go ahead and loosen up the fuel rails because where this one line hooks up is directly under where the fuel rails sit. So it's gonna basically come in here like this and go right under the fuel rail and be held right there on the top of that ABCS. So we'll get a washer on both sides of the banjo bolt, and then we may have to do a little bit of modifying to one of the top of these banjo bolts, like maybe use the file and sand it down a little bit so that way our fuel rail isn't touching. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get this one down and tightened up and get the clearance issue figured out, and then we'll go ahead and show you guys where the rest of this stuff goes so that way you'll know what to do when you get your kit. So we just installed this front banjo bolt on the passenger side head, and you guys can see right here, it's actually really close to the fuel rails, but it's not actually hitting anywhere. So I was really happy that it didn't hit. But anyway, we have it wrapped around here, and it goes to the back of the head. So we got the first line installed. We're gonna go ahead and install the second part of the kit. So this right here, you guys might look at this and be like, where does that go? So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys where it goes and exactly how it needs to go on. So when you originally get the kit, this silver piece will come separate from this little T piece, and you'll have to put this on at the correct angle. So you guys see I have the AN fitting squared off, and I have the fitting almost pointing directly sideways as the banjo bolt, and you guys will see why here in a second. But let's go ahead. We got our banjo bolt and our bronze washers. If we can get a good look here, we're gonna put this bolt through here. We're gonna put the other washer on the back side, and then it's gonna go down here. Get that thing started, and we're gonna bring it up to about pretty much the straight vertical position like that. And as you can see, our other line that we hooked up earlier is pretty close to that, so we'll be able to go ahead and tighten those up. So we'll go ahead and put a wrench on this, get it snug down. And by the way, both of these banjo bolts should be 17. And you don't gotta go crazy tight with this. It's just making a seal, so, you know, put a little bit of something on it, but don't go overboard. So we got that tight. And like I was telling you, you can see our other line right here is pretty much right in line with our T piece, and that is why it's a T, because we're gonna be hooking up a line to the side of it and also to the top of it. So it's kind of hard to do with one hand here, but let me see if I can get this thing started. So it feels like we got it started now. So I'm gonna go grab my AN wrench, and we'll just slowly turn this thing on here, just like that. And this will connect our ABCS banjo bolt to our rear oil feed. Go ahead and tighten this down just like you would any other AN fitting. Nothing crazy, but just enough to make a seal. All right, so that's tight. I like how all that's looking. So this is gonna be the line that's actually gonna go to the turbo. And the reason why is because it has this 90-degree at the top. And when we test fit the turbo, we'll go ahead and show you guys where this actually goes on the turbo and also tell you guys what turbo we went with. But now this basically just goes on the top end of the T, nothing too crazy. Just gonna screw that down onto there like that. And might have to realign it depending on where our turbo falls, but it's pretty much gonna look just about like this. It's gonna hook up to the top of the turbo, wherever the turbo ends up sitting. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the oil feed line. But I kind of wanted to show that because I haven't really seen too many videos of it on YouTube. So this definitely can't hurt anybody that's looking to install this thing on their car. That is that. Now let's go on to the rear subframe lockdown bolts. And I actually did this because I wanted to get free shipping on an order a while back. I wasn't even planning on doing this mod, but I figured, you know, free shipping and it's a part that can't really hurt the build. And I'll show you guys how to put that on. It'll stiffen up the rear end of the chassis. And yeah, so all good stuff. Let's go ahead and take a look at it and then we'll get under the car, show you what it takes. All right, so we're at the rear of the car. I want to give you a little rundown of the tools you're probably gonna need. So right here, I have a 1/2-inch ratchet with a 17mm on it. And that is basically gonna be used for loosening up the subframe bolts. So sorry if the camera's a little iffy here, but you guys can see right there, we have the one subframe bolt on the back and the one subframe bolt in the front. And you can see the center hole where there is no bolt. That is where the lockdown bolt is gonna go through. So one thing that you guys are gonna wanna do is chase the threads depending on, you know, how old your car is, where it's lived most of its life. And the threads are M12 by 1.25. Be careful when you get your thread chasing tool because an M12 is also made in 1.5 and 1.75 thread pitch. So it's gonna have to be a 1.25 for it to be able to work properly. So we have that here. Now I've gone ahead and loosened up the subframe bolts on both sides. So we should be able to get this tap in here pretty easily. Clean up the threads in the frame so that way we can go ahead and start this bolt. And I believe this is a 10mm Allen head that's gonna be used for these Torque Solutions lockdown bolts. And yeah, let's go ahead and get these things in. So laying under the car now, you can see the two subframe bolts and the center hole that doesn't have a bolt in it. So like I said earlier, that's going to be where the lockdown bolt is going to go, but first we're going to want to chase those threads. So I'm going to go ahead and chase them and then we'll go ahead and get the bolt started and we'll catch up with you guys then, so stay tuned. Guys, so I went ahead and got the passenger side started and I realized that I didn't really tell you guys how this thing works. So right here we have the one I'm going to put on the driver's side, but basically what happens is this bushing slides up in the subframe and locks it in the center. So that's pretty much what happens. The one thing I learned by putting this side in, it'll start about 1 or 2 turns and then it gets a little tight, and that's 100% normal. It gets tight because this piece is going ahead and touching the subframe and centering it. So that's normal, so don't be afraid. Just make sure you get it started straight and you can go ahead and run it all the way up in there. But I'm actually gonna go ahead and put the driver's side one in before I tighten any of this stuff up, just so that way I don't have anything in a bind and I can tighten everything up at the end and make sure to all be good. So we'll go ahead and get this one in and we'll go ahead and catch up with you guys after. All right guys, so we got both of them installed on both sides. I went ahead and tightened back down the subframe. So all that is done. So this is gonna be where we're gonna conclude the video for today. You guys know what to do. If you like the video, be sure to drop a like, hit that subscribe button. The only thing that's kind of unfortunate is that once this car gets on the road, it's gonna have so much more bracing effect from all the different bracing parts. Also, the rear subframe lockdown bolts will definitely attribute to that. But the only thing is it's gonna be a little bit hard to judge and tell you guys, you know, what actually made the car feel different because I'm doing so many things all at once before the car actually gets on the road. But it is what it is. We're gonna go ahead and still give you guys a full review once the car gets on the road. But like I said, this is gonna be where we're gonna conclude the video. If you guys liked it, be sure to drop a like. We'll be back for a new video soon, so stay tuned. Peace.